super hyper smart on figuring out the name.
It had to be insured.
Welcome back to Noob School. As always, we're interviewing great business people, and these stories are meant to help you get better at sales. Don't forget to check out noobschool.org and contact me if I can help you with your sales. Enjoy the show. All right, Tim, well, welcome aboard.
Thanks, John.
This is what we call the fun train.
Is that what you guys call it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So welcome aboard the fun train.
Just all cabooses.
Well, maybe. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But it's Tim Chirikalov.
That's right.
I got that right.
You got it right.
It's pretty good. I love it. All right. Well, Tim is a comedian. Tim's a working comedian based in Atlanta. He works all over the Atlanta community. He hosts quite a bit of the funny shows down there, and then you do stuff all over the country too, don't you?
Yeah. Up and down the East Coast. I haven't made it out to LA yet. That seems to be another town where they're doing comedy. But I'm in South Carolina now. So
You're working here.
that's part of the country.
It is. Yeah, it is.
Barely.
Well, that's what some people think.
Yeah.
That's true. And so you graduated from University of Georgia in 2014.
Yeah. Yeah. Just I needed something to do for 6.5 years, so I went to college.
And you majored, as most comedians do, in what, environmental sciences?
That's right. So if you want to get into stand-up comedy.
Letterman, Leno.
But it all starts with environmental science.
Yes.
You have to figure out what soil works best when temperate.
It's the
climate.
baseline.
Yeah.
Take the baseline.
I'm just following the timeline.
Following the greats?
Yeah.
All right. So, one of the reasons I wanted you to be on the podcast is we're trying to expose our audience, mostly, brand new salespeople or people, we call them noobs, that want to be in sales, to different professions, and let them get, a kind of a real firsthand look at what it's like to be a salesperson in this field, or a comedian, which I consider kind of a salesperson on stage, or, different kinds of things. So you're representing that today. And as we go through your career thus far, think about what are the areas where you used sales or sales techniques to, make a connection or get a gig or, get hired somewhere. So,
Okay. Yeah. So I'll tell you, when I'm hosting a show, when I produce a show, I open up the show and I'll say something like, everyone go get a drink right now. And I'll try to sell. Basically, a stand-up comedian just goes around the country selling chicken wings and beer in comedy clubs.
okay.
And trying to have the crowd be entertained in that process.
Right.
But all we are is entertainment for a venue, so they can sell their fried foods or whatever.
In the door, right?
And the door, sure.
Yeah.
Sure, we sell doors. I do use the business aspect of it when I'm trying to negotiate a budget for a show, because you can only do it free for so many times until you're like, I gotta pay for gas.
Yeah.
So I had sales jobs where I'm just like, do you want to buy a car or whatever? And there is this, you're selling your personality. You know what I mean? People want to buy from somebody that they like. And if you make them laugh, you're in, everyone loves a funny guy. So I've just made this my profession. I'm not trying to sell merch or anything, but there is I make a living aspect to it. I don't know if I answered your question whatsoever.
Well, that was a good start. So when you were at Georgia, when did you start thinking about being a comedian, and when did you make that decision?
I've always loved comedy. As a kid, stand-up was this thing to me where I didn't even know you could try to get into. I just saw comedians on TV, and I was like, I feel like they're just born into it.
Yeah.
And so one of my best friends went to an open mic in college, and and I saw him do stand-up comedy at an open mic, which is some of the worst comedy you will ever see. But it being my friend, it was like tangible to me. I know him. He's on stage making us laugh.
Yeah.
And so I was in my 6.5 year of college. I was like, okay, I finally figured out what I'm going to do. I'm going to be broke for a long time pursuing stand-up comedy. And that was end of 2014. I went to my advisor and I was like, get me out of college. I want to be done. Give me my piece of paper.
Yeah.
What do I have to do? And he told me what my major is going to be, which is environmental science. I finished college and I just started doing open mics as often as I could. I did get a job offer down in Tampa, Florida. So I went down there to so it was a day job. So I could make a living during the day and then do comedy at night. I ended up getting fired immediately. Every job I get fired.
Yeah.
But the pursuit never ended. You know, I didn't care what I was doing to make money.
Yeah.
As long as I could do stand up at night. And so I just did that until now I can like live off of comedy. So it all started with environmental science.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. Well, how's the comedy scene in Atlanta right now?
It's amazing. I'm surprised. I should have moved there first. I've underrated how good it is. I get up every night. There's 3 or 4 comedy clubs that are like premier comedy clubs.
Yeah.
Everyone always says like New York, LA. Those are the 2 places, and they are like the capitals for stand-up comedy. But you don't realize there's like these other markets where you can still like hone your craft, get up in front of like good crowds, and you still have a chance to be like, you know, discovered.
Yeah.
You still can be brought on a nationwide tour. You can make Atlanta your home base and then work the country. It's pretty great. And the best part is we're not beholden to the comedy clubs. Like I put on a show at a coffee shop and, you know, they give me a budget. Most comedians that are been doing it for a while, they have their own shows. Breweries, coffee shops, bars, libraries, wherever. You can create your own environment to perform.
So explain to us how that works.
Well, after you've been doing it for a while, you have an act, right? Hopefully it's good. That's the important part.
How many minutes is that, an act?
I think so you know the tiers of stand-up comedy, there's like an opening act, which could be anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. There's a feature act, which is anywhere from 20 to 25 minutes. And then a headliner typically is 45 minutes and on. You know, you could do as long as you could. So that's your act, is how much material that's good can you do in front of any crowd. So if you have 45 minutes, if you can fill an hour, most places want at least an hour of entertainment. You had a musician here earlier that was doing 3 hours for. That's crazy to me. I could never do 4. First of all, if you're doing 4 hours of stand-up comedy in one night, the audience would be like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
So you build an act, right? You have material, and then you go to a place hopefully a place that has a built-in stage, that has sound equipment, preferably an audience that comes and, you know, just hangs out there and be like, hey, I'd like to propose you do comedy. And if they're willing, you're like, okay, so let's try once a month, twice a month, whatever you're up for. And you put on your own show. So if you have sound equipment, a crowd, lighting, hopefully a dark room, and you're off to the races. I do shows that are showcases. So I'll book some of my favorite comedians in town from, you know, the country or whatever. And I'll do like a lineup of 8 comedians. We all do 15 minutes each. That way the crowd has like a variety. And, you know, it's still enough to have a good time.
And so your sales pitch to the owner of the coffee shop or the brewery is pay us, once you start us at X amount of dollars for these 8 people, and if your crowd goes up, then you want us to come back. And if it doesn't, then we got no problem. We won't come back.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, because so there is the business aspect of it. They want to sell chicken wings or whatever beer.
Yeah.
So if you're telling them that I can bring in 30, 40 people, what dummy's gonna be like, no, I don't want more customers.
Yeah.
They want that potential crowd.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna, drink, they're gonna eat. So there's the revenue part of it. And then for the comedians, if you can get like ticket sales or a cut of the food sales, whatever, because you also want to make a living from it.
Yeah.
So both parties benefit. And then hopefully the crowd has a good time.
Yeah.
They get, their laughs and their food.
Yeah.
And then you just do that night after night.
I love that because you're not beholden to the comedy clubs anymore.
Right.
You can create your own situation. I know Dave Chappelle before he kind of got back into things, did an outdoor comedy special in the park with just him and a megaphone.
Right.
For a while.
Yeah.
So you can kind of do whatever you want. You have to
Yeah,
work.
you're comedians are inherently lazy. So
Yeah.
if I don't have somewhere to be at 9 o'clock, I'm sleeping in to 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Because we're your own boss. So that's a good and a bad thing. You have freedom, but you also have to be disciplined to go out and work. No one. I don't have a timesheet to fill out. I don't have a quota to fill out.
Yeah.
But if I'm not, actively pursuing this, I'm also not going to get work. I'm also not going to be funny. I'm not going to hone. It's a craft that you have to be the overseer.
Yeah.
You're the employee of the month and the boss, the CEO, and the janitor.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Well, who's your favorite comedian?
I can only pick one.
Yeah, just one for now.
Brian Regan.
Okay. I like Brian Regan.
But it changes, tomorrow it'll be Norm Macdonald.
See, Norm's my favorite. I thought you were going to ask me.
I almost said Norm.
Yeah.
But, I have a top 5. You can't just go with one.
Okay,
It's like saying, what's your favorite?
Give me the top 5.
Huh?
Give me the top 5.
Top 5. Carlin, Pryor, Regan, Norm Macdonald, and Chappelle.
It's good. So Norm Macdonald, I heard him recently. They were in an old interview. When do you do your best writing? And of course, the interviewer's thinking he's going to say, I wake up early, and he said right before the show. He said 30 minutes right before I go on, I immediately think of a few things, and he goes, while I'm on stage, I'll think of things and write them down.
Yeah.
And he goes, other than that, lazy, like you were saying, just like, I'll do it later.
That's great. I love that answer. I was watching you do the podcast before this.
Yeah.
And I'm also sitting here thinking of funny things. For example, I love that you dress like Steve Jobs.
Oh, you like that?
Yeah.
I'm Steve's older brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like you're like the business mentor of Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
So that's not not necessarily a great thing, but like when you have the adrenaline going right before you're about to perform, you're like, oh, here's some things I observe. Hopefully it works.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's kind of the state of the comedic industry right now?
You're gonna have to ask Chris Rock.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I think comedy's gonna be fine. I don't think it's going anywhere. People are gonna want to laugh. Comedians are gonna keep making jokes. I don't think we're like the go-to. Like if you're going to a comedian to figure out like what to think or how to live your life, like you've got bigger problems. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're not. People put comedians like we're like the philosophers of the.
Right.
There's still philosophers, by the way.
Yeah.
You can still go
An actual philosopher?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you need a moral compass, don't go to a comedian.
Yeah, well, it's like anything else, it changes. And it used to be they would sell, albums or whatever, and now it's a lot of performing and then specials, right? Netflix specials.
Sure. Well, with the internet, like the last 3 specials I saw are on YouTube. And these are like respected comedians. They're out, touring the world.
Yeah.
And it's not just you either have a Netflix special or it's not like just a Leno appearance. It used to be with Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
If once you got on Johnny Carson, he gives you a thumbs up, you're set.
Yeah.
That time is gone.
Yeah.
It's, do you have 3 Netflix specials? Do you have a podcast?
Yeah.
Do you have a koozie with your face on it? You know what I mean? There's like all these things, these avenues that you can do where you're not just beholden to one thing.
Yeah.
It's also saturated the market. You know what I mean? You can get comedy on HBO, on Netflix, on Hulu, on Amazon Prime, whatever the whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
So you can be out there and find an audience.
Yeah. I agree. I like it. So networking, let's talk a little bit more about sales and networking. How have you used networking to get into, other people's comedy clubs or their performances they're putting on? Have you done that?
The best way to network as a comedian is to be funny. As simple as that sounds. If you're funny, if you're on a show that someone else has booked you, or even your own show, and you have other comedians there, and you kill, you do a great set, you have a great show, that comedian's be like, I want you on my show.
Yeah.
I have an audience.
Yeah.
You're going to make them laugh too.
Right.
So you network on stage, and then when you're off stage, just hanging out. Just as weird as that sounds, if you go to shows and you're just around your peers, you're just showing face, joke around, hanging out, then you'll also get booked from that. You'll hear conversations that they're having about how you get booked here, what you need to do to get into this club, who do you have to know, stuff like that. So you'll just pick up from a collective, but you have to be there. So that's the most part. You can send emails all you want to like these breweries, like, hey, can I put on a show here? But you'll learn a lot more from other people in your field.
Yeah, that's a great one. That's the power of showing up and being present somewhere. And we talk about that with the noobs about whatever profession that they choose to be in that spot. Like if you want to be in technology, ideally you want to go to Silicon Valley or, comedy, you want to be in one of the major centers. So yeah, I think that's important. And getting people away from email too. Is, pick up the phone or show up, talk to people, good things will happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like you make a bigger impression being face to face by talking someone, looking at their eyes and their mouth, and because that's going to be a more lasting relationship than just being a words on a screen.
Yeah, particularly in comedy, you kind of want to show your craft.
Right. Yeah, I've gotten more work just showing up to a comedy club and be like, even if there's a show going on there, like, hey, I'm a comedian, I'm from out of town. Can I just do a few minutes? They're like, yeah.
They can tell. They can tell. Yeah. That's cool. Showing up, man. So couple more questions. Tell us one thing you wish you had known about the business or about sales in the business when you started.
I think I wish I had known. I don't know. I still feel like I don't know anything. I'm learning every day. Like there is like 2 factors to it. It's show business, right?
Yeah.
So the show part is me getting on stage, writing jokes, performing. That's the show part. But then the business aspect of it, I don't have a business manager. I don't have a promoter.
Yeah.
I have to do all that stuff on my own. I wish I knew how much of that is going to be important. So your social media presence, you have to build a fan base on your own now.
Yeah.
It's not the Carson days where there's hundreds of channels.
Yeah.
Back then there was 4 channels. So you're going to get a big market share being on TV. Now it's you have to be funny, you have to be your own promoter, you have to do HR. You know what I mean? You have to be very aware of all the things going on around just the show part. I wish I knew that. I also wish I learned how to video edit earlier because I'm not paying a video editor. I have to put in my own subtitles on the, we make comedy sketches, we make stand-up clips.
Yeah.
There's like a production to it. Because if I have a good joke, but the video cutting of it is terrible, that's like not a good product I'm putting out on the internet.
Right. Right.
So
those are all good ones. Those are good ones. I think that it's got to be tough for most comedians, is trying to be funny and also like businesslike. What percentage of your time do you do the business stuff? And
yeah, but don't discount the fun. I think the most important part, especially for comedians, is to be funny.
Right.
I love the Steve Martin mentality is be undeniable. You be so good they can't. You can be a jerk or whatever, but if every time you get on stage and you just leave the audience just gasping for air, you're gonna get noticed. You're gonna get picked up.
Yeah, it's a good point.
But don't be a Bill Cosby about it.
So, two more questions. What is your favorite word?
Sure.
Sure. That's it, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Why is that?
Well, you could use. You use it all. Okay. You can. It's an affirmation. Sure. Yeah. I'm with you. Sure.
Yeah.
You could use it sarcastically. It's a very versatile word.
Got it.
I also like howdy.
Howdy.
I like howdy because I like efficiency.
Yeah.
And so when you first meet someone, there's a lot of like fake pleasure. You get into that script. Hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
How are you?
Yeah.
And you're supposed to. I'm good. How are you? I'm good.
Hope you're well.
Sure. It's a bunch of horseshit.
Yeah.
You can just say howdy, and that's how do you do in one word.
Yeah.
And there's no really you're like, I'm good. Howdy. No one says that back.
Yeah.
So it just cuts right to the next part.
That skips a lot of steps.
Yeah.
I like it. That's a good word. I like both those words. So give us, last question, give us your best advice since you've done not just comedy, but sales also, best advice for noobs or salespeople just starting out.
Okay. If you're in sales, if you're like in a business environment, get a clipboard.
Okay.
Because if you're holding a clipboard, you look busy.
Yeah.
And no one will bother you.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what's on the clipboard. You can be tic-tac-toe with yourself.
Yeah.
And you could just focus on whatever you need to focus on. People will leave you alone. You look busy.
I love it. Well, that's advice we've never heard before. So this is new information for the noobs.
Yeah, I've seen clipboards do amazing things.
Good. Well, we're mighty thankful you ventured up the road today to come join us. We appreciate you.
Thanks. Yeah, this is nice. I love performing.
And if people want to see you perform, how do they check your schedule out?
I have a website, timchirikalov.com.
You said that right.
Yeah, did I get that right?
You got it right.
I didn't roll the R, but I put on I'll show clips of stand-up, of sketches. I have some writing on there, and then I've got upcoming shows on the calendar there.
And we'll spell out Chirikalov.
Yeah, make sure you get all both eyes on there.
We'll get it on there for the podcast for them. So, but anyway, thanks for being here. We appreciate it, and you're the best comedian we've ever had on the podcast.
You mean the only one?
That's right. Thank you, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Appreciate
John.
it. All right, Tim, we did it.
All right.